Cherokee O'Bannon.
What are you doing out this time of night, O'Bannon?
Well, I might ask you two the same question. But at the same time, I'm out looking for Chad. Where is he now?
Chad? Why,
How should we know where he is?
Well, he had an appointment out at your place at 10 o'clock, didn't he?
Yeah, sure, but he didn't stay more than 10 minutes, did he, Ma?
That was 10 minutes too long. It's a good thing we run into you, O'Bannon. Saved you a long ride. Go back to town now.
Yes, he's not out at your place. Might as well. What have you got there? A whole arsenal? You're both armed to the teeth.
If I was you, O'Bannon, I wouldn't ask so many questions.
My blazes, I wager I know what you're up to. Despite all Chad's done to try to save you, you're out trying to start a fight with them sheep men, aren't you?
You're too smart for your own good, O'Bannon. Come on. You coming along with us.
Now, just a minute, madam.
Dave, take his gun.
Sure, Ma, I'll get it.
Get up there, you!
Ma, he's getting away.
He won't get far. I'll knock that poor flushing medicine man right off.
Ma, don't let go of that rifle there, David. Oh, blasted, Ma, it's bad enough going out to shoot sheep herders without shooting a friend behind his back.
That's better. Yeah. I guess you're right at that. Just afraid he'd find Chad.
Out in the barn? Fine chance, tied up and all covered with hay. Come on, Ma. Mr. Churchill and the others will be waiting for us. We're going to catch them sheepmen napping. We're going to have to do it before sunup.
While all this was happening, I finally came back to life, trussed like a turkey and covered with hay in the Buckley's barn. I couldn't figure out any way of getting loose until, wriggling around, I found I could make my fingers reach some matches in my pocket. I guess I got the idea from something I'd read, but I figured if I could strike a match or two and hold the flame under my ropes, I could burn them loose. And I managed to get hold of 3 matches. I struck one, held it just under my left wrist, and the next thing I knew, the hay was on fire. Smart lawyer, hey? Trussed up like a suckling pig on a barbecue and just about as hot. I thrashed around, tried everything I could, but the only thing I succeeded in doing was spreading the flames. Well, my goose was cooked, and so was I when the barn door opened and Cherokee rushed in.
Chad, you in here?
Cherokee, get out that bowie knife of yours. Come on, I'm tied up.
You're almost burned up. Come on, young fella. We've got to get out of here.
Cherokee, if you're sure of what you think you saw, we're in for it.
Well, then we're in for it because those cow-headed ranchers have cut down trees and barricaded the pass, made a blasted fortress out of this valley.
Good grief, Cherokee. They've started. From the number of gun flashes I see, those sheepmen have got them outnumbered 5 to 1.
Keep going there, boy. Keep going.
Hey, Cherokee, look. Look, there's someone coming, riding away from there. Slow, fella. Oh, boy. Hold it! Rein up!
Who's that? Is that you, Remington? Really blue blazes, Chad. This is Mr. Churchill, the man who ran you out of the meeting.
It's awful down there.
Huh?
5 men shot already, and I was going to see if I could get some help. They must outnumber us 10 to 1. Hey, that bugle. What's that?
Chad, the colonel was good as his word. They got here.
Who got here?
The United States Army, that's who. I sent Cherokee over to see the colonel early this afternoon. Since they bought all this beef, they've got an interest in this valley, too. Come on, boys. We can still get in for the wind-up.
Chad, I guess there's no way of rightly telling you how I feel over what we done to you after all you done for us.
You don't have to apologize, Ma. Just so long as you've learned your lesson that the West and the open range doesn't all belong to you.
I think most of Ma's honoriness leaked out through the hole that sheep herder's bullet put through her arm, huh, Ma?
Yeah, sure ain't got my back up now.
Then, madam, may Dr. O'Bannon prescribe a dose of his genuine Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil taken just before meals? Just so happens that I have a bottle with me. And I'll be very happy to sell you at a reduced price, a genuine bargain.
Pay cash for that hogwash? No, but I'll tell you what I'll do. So happens that I just have one bottle of that stuff I used to make, and I'll trade you.
Trading for that stuff? Not on your tin tie.
What's happened to you, Cherokee, turning down a deal like that?
Well, I'll tell you, Chad. I once saw an Indian who drank my stuff, and it bleached him out like an albino.
You don't expect us to believe that one, do you, Cherokee? Why, boy, that's impossible.
Impossible? What's impossible about a redskin imbibing in some red eye and turning pale?
Why, even a school kid knows the answer to that one. It's an old copybook maxim. 2 reds don't make a white.
Frontier Town, starring Tex Chandler and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again same time next week for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Tex Chandler. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town came to you from Hollywood.
Miss Sager.
Mrs. Sager.
Mrs. Sager, would you please put that rifle down? I came here without any guns, without any means of force whatsoever.
You come here with force.
Now, Mrs. Sager...
Come here to force me out of my house, off my land.
Mrs. Sager, please.
Nobody shoves me off of my land, Mr. Williams. Nobody. This land is mine. It's free and clear, every inch of it.
I've no doubt...
My husband staked this land 25 years ago. He homesteaded it and raised cattle on it every year till he died. Every year till he died, he raised cattle on this land.
I have every respect for
And
your...
nobody takes me off this land, Mr. Williams, you or your filthy railroad or anybody else. My husband left me this land, and he said, Libby, this is your land, and you keep it. I said, Howard, I swear by everything decent, nobody'll ever take this land away from me. A solemn and a holy oath, Mr. Williams, to a dying man.
Mrs. Sager, now.
Well, that's the
Listen
end of
to
that.
me for just a minute.
Well, I know what you're going to say.
Just a minute. 1 minute, Mrs. Sager.
Said it 100 times if you said it once.
Please, Mrs. Sager, just 1
Well,
minute.
go on, talk then, talk and get it over with. 1 minute.
1 minute.
That's right.
I represent the railroad.
I know that.
And we have reserved from the United States government a right-of-way of land across the United States for our railroad, Transcontinental Railroad, Mrs. Sager, Transcontinental. The United States government...
United States government, I heard you. What do you want? You scare me or something?
Transcontinental, it's progress, Mrs. Sager. You can't hold back the time.
That's what you always say. You can't hold
Your
back
land. Your land, Mrs. Sager, is directly in the right-of-way. Now, we're willing, more than willing, we're happy to pay you 3 times the worth of this land.
I said I wouldn't sell, Mr. Williams. How many times I got to repeat it?
It's not a matter of... Mrs. Sager, please, I wish you'd lower that carbine. It's making me nervous.
I noticed you shaking. The minute's almost up.
The point is, you've got to sell. You're on public land to be reconverted. Now, we sent you a check and a notice to get off the land. No, not us. The United States government. That makes it mandatory, compulsory.
Free country.
Progress, Mrs. Sager, for the common good.
It's a free country. I can live where I want, and this is where I'm living. And let me tell you something, Mr. Williams. I'm staying right here. You could have orders from the president. I'm just as good a citizen as he is. Now you just scoot off on this property.
I'd hate to have to call the United States Marshal. Now, Mrs. Sager, I don't like to use force when reason will do.
Get off this property, Mr. Williams, or I'm going to remember the United States government has a law about trespassing. Did you hear me? Scoot.
You can't hold back the times. That's what I told her, Marshal. She held that rifle on me every second. It seems funny to you, I suppose.
No, I didn't mean to laugh at you, Mr. Williams, but... Well, Libby Sager's quite a woman. I've known her a long time. I knew her husband.
Anybody could be married to that.
Now, what you've got to understand about Libby is, Mr. Williams, that Libby isn't an ordinary woman.
That's sure.
No, Libby is... Well, she's kind of like the West. I mean by that, she's got her ways, and her ways are free. And she's hard to tame.
Well, I'll tell you this, Marshal. In the railroad business, when we come to a mountain, if we can't go around it, we blast right through it.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure I'd try that with Libby if I were...
Marshal, I've tried talking to her. I've sent her letters. I've tried everything. There's no moving.
Yeah, I know. But you've got to keep in mind that Libby's lived there for almost a quarter of a century.
I've got a job to do.
Look, can't you go around her land?
Oh, fine. A straight line track for a few hundred miles, then all of a sudden it juts out for a few little acres, and then back to another straight line for another 100 miles.
I would break it up a little, wouldn't it?
Marshal, I want you to get out there with this order. It's an order to vacate. Every time we send her a check, she sends it right back. So here's a check to go with the order.
Look, Mr. Williams, she's not going to move. I know that woman, and she's not going to move.
That's a United States government order, and you're the United States Marshal.
Oh, please, Mr. Williams, don't remind me of my duties. There's some things I don't like about this job. Eviction and seizure. Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Eviction. Federal order.
Libby Sager, yes, sir.
You weren't listening at the door, were you, Chester?
Oh, no, sir. My, absolutely not, Mr. Dillon. It's just I am cursed with wonderful ears. Comes from so many nights out hunting. Why, my whole family got
yeah.
ears.
All right, Chester.
Mr. Dillon, isn't there some way the railroad can go around that property? I purely hate to see that woman.
He's made me a villain when I'm just doing my job.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Williams, I guess we all feel a little like that right now. Come on, Chester.
Listen, this here...
Now hold it, Libby.
Saw you through the curtains.
Let me out!
Well, I saw you peeking.
Coward little railroad has to bring the marshal.
Mr. Williams
I
asked
had
me
to, Mrs. Sager. I told you before that...
Hot-bellied little railroad had to get the marshal.
Now, Libby, Libby, I want you to put that carbine down, and I want you to act like a human being.
Don't you start anything with me, that kind of talk now, Matt Dillon. I knew you too long for that kind of talk.
Libby, what would
Since you
Howard
mess
have
with me.
said if he could see you standing there holding a carbine on me?
You can say what you got to say right here and right now. Just leave my poor dead husband out of this.
You think he'd stand in the way of progress the way you are?
Progress? That big, loud, steaming, dirty thing a-howling by, black smoke bringing in the trash from back east? You call that progress?
I'll make a deal with you, Libby. You put down your gun, and I'll send Mr. Williams and Chester back to town, huh?
I got nothing to say to you, Marshal.
Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Here, take my gun, Chester.